I'm Jonathan Carney with Hacky Gourmet, and today I'm going to show you how to cook the perfect flat iron steak. So let's get right into it. So here we go. We have the flat iron steak here on the side. We want to use a very good olive oil and a very good sea salt. First, we need to heat the pan up here. Today we're going to be doing this with cast iron. We want to heat this to medium-high heat, just so there's a little bit of smoke going, and then we're going to hit it with about 2 tablespoons to 3 tablespoons of very good olive oil, just to coat the bottom of that cast iron pan. Today we're also going to use a tempered cooking method. We're going to hit it with very high heat, and then we're going to allow for a resting period, which is going to allow the muscle of the beef to reabsorb the moisture and the flavor. So here we have the flat iron steak. This comes from the chuck portion, or the shoulder of the cattle. You'll notice here it's towards the forward part of the cow. This muscle does get a lot of work, but also has some good marbling and good fat content to it, and if butchered properly, can be a very, very flavorful and one of the most underrated cuts of beef out there. One great thing about this beef, and this cut of beef, is that it retains a lot of the moisture. So during this tempered cook that we're using, it's going to be a very delicious piece of beef and very flavorful when we're finished with it. Now that we have the pan here, we've got that medium-high heat. We're going to take our steak here, and we're going to season it with some of this pink Himalayan sea salt. We want to use generous amounts of salt. Going to really enhance the flavor, create a great exterior. Beautiful, beautiful cut of meat. This is 16 ounces for 1 pound. Then we're going to apply this directly to the heat in our cast iron pan, and we're going to lay it away from us just in case there's any splashes. Now we're going to go 1.5 minutes on each side, and then we're going to set it aside for a 5-minute rest period. During that 5-minute rest period, that's when the beef and the muscle will be reabsorbing that moisture, which is where the flavor's at. Then after that rest period, we're going to then apply another 1.5 minutes to each side, and then one final rest period of 5 minutes. The reason for this tempered cook, as we discussed a few times earlier, is this is slowly bringing the muscle and the beef up to the temperature that we're looking for. Today we're going for medium rare. This is essentially the same concept if you've ever heard the term sous vide, is where you slowly bring the temperature of the beef up in a water bath in an enclosed plastic container or bag, and that creates a very even cook. But you can actually do that in a similar fashion here with the tempered cooking method that we're using now. So we have about 45 seconds or more here left. There's nothing better than the sounds of the kitchen. So let's flip this here. We're not too concerned with a really dark exterior. We'll hit that on the next run when we go another 1.5 to 2 minutes on our final cooking. But this is going to cook a perfect medium rare. And for the sake of time, I already do have additional steaks lined up here. So once I'm finished with this, we will set this aside to rest. But I will immediately put on the next steak, which is in the second step that's already gone through the resting period. One thing that's very important at this point in time when you do remove this steak is you want to turn the heat down to low. You don't want to smoke yourself out of your kitchen or set off a fire alarm. If you're indoors, outdoors, it's obviously a lot easier to cook with high heat. But we're set. This tempered cooking method is very high heat, so there is going to be some smoke involved. Another thing you want to avoid is moving the beef around. You want to place it just where it's at. That's where it's going to retain and hold the most heat and be able to absorb and cook as evenly as possible. Now we're going to set this aside to rest. We're going to go a 5-minute rest. In the resting period, one thing you want to do is you can touch this with your fingers here. You're looking for heat first of all, but the second what you're looking for is to feel the juices and the moisture when we've been cooking here on the cast iron have been absorbed out of the beef, and now it's going to absorb back in. So it's a little gushy right here. When that starts to settle and become a little stiffer, that's when you're going to know that it's about time to put it back on medium-high heat for the next cooking period, and that way you absorb as much of the flavor and moisture back in. So I'm going to apply just a little more olive oil here. Remember, we're in the 5-minute rest period, so that's ended, and we're going to put this secondary steak on here for the sake of time, and we're going to go 1.5 minutes on each side. Now this period of cooking is where we're going to get a darker exterior to the beef. We're going to get a little bit of that crust going on. This is a leaner cut of beef. There is a good amount of fat in it, but this is a little leaner than you would traditionally have with like a ribeye. So the crust on the outside, the way the outside cooks is going to be a little different. So we're going 1.5 minutes, as I said, on each side, medium to high heat. And then that's going to give us our finished product. I'm just going to set the one that we have here resting off to the side. The reason I choose olive oil, it does have a lower smoke point, which means it doesn't take as much heat until it starts to smoke than some other oils. I personally just really enjoy the flavor of olive oil. If you're looking for something with a higher smoke point, rapeseed oil is a great alternative, avocado oil. But olive oil, for me, the flavor of that is unmatched. And now we're going to flip this. You can see we're getting a nice crust on the outside and really nice color. And this is truly a technique, this tempered cooking technique is truly something you can do with not only just a cast iron pan, you can do this with a skillet, you can do this on your grill, you can do this with charcoal, propane, there's all sorts of different techniques. This one, or this style of steak, is slightly different. The way this absorbs the heat is going to be different than other cuts of beef. But with this here, all we're doing is 1.5 minutes on each side, twice, 2 5-minute resting periods, and then we're going to see the final result here in just a few moments. So now we're done with the pan. You want to turn that heat off. This is going to go for 5 more minutes of resting. We're going to take the flat iron steak directly off. You can see we've got nice color on the outside of this beef here. Great crust. And as I said, for the sake of time, have one that's finished product here, so let's cut this open and start eating. So we are going to season this one more time with some olive oil and salt, but we're going to cut it open first. You can see here, great color to it. It should come out perfect medium rare. Perfect. What we're looking for is that edge-to-edge color. When you go out to the steakhouse, they tell you medium rare is a warm pink center. Medium rare should look just like this, where it's perfect throughout, edge to edge. Center this on the plate, presentation purposes. We're going to hit it with a little drizzle of olive oil. A little more of our Himalayan sea salt. Just go to the top here. And there you have it. The perfect flat iron steak, medium rare. No better way to eat it than with your hands. Enjoy.